But if you're LeBron James, you may want an upgrade to this team and may not want the team to stand pat and may want to apply a little bit of pressure to the team. Now, I'm not saying that these comments necessarily direct to that, but I will say LeBron does have a pretty long history of being a little bit passive-aggressive with team decisions. So I just think that when you look at his comments and you look at the Lakers situation, you just need to take that into account as you try to parse out what's actually happening.
Let's keep it simple. If LeBron comes back, let's assume he comes back. LeBron, AD, and Reeves are going to be on the team. They are going to bring back Austin Reeves, whatever the cost. Then the choice becomes a very simple one. It's really Rui Hachimura or the $30 million plus of cap room that Brian talked about, which, by the way, is not max cap room. That's well short of Kyrie Irving's max. So it's short of Fred VanVleet's max, if that's a name they want to pursue. So there's some negotiations to be had there. D'Angelo Russell will see, to me, Rui Hachimura clearly passed him in the important hierarchy for the Lakers going forward. And so that's the choice. If you get wind that a star or all-star wants to come, it's really Hachimura or that guy. And that's a choice that LeBron will surely have an opinion about. Sure. And if LeBron doesn't come back, you just have a whole other series of questions.
I mean, the big name when we talk about adding a star is Kyrie. And I don't think it's coincidence that he planted himself there courtside last night, right? And was able to be seen on camera so much. I mean, is that the road they should be going down?
I think you explore everything. Ultimately, at this point, whether Pelinka and those guys want to admit it or not, like, if you are trying to maximize whatever LeBron has left in the tank, then you are definitely going to hear him out on who he potentially wants to play with. And obviously, these two have been successful before. I think in the time that they have been apart from one another, Kyrie obviously has had the opportunity to see just how heavy the crown is, so to speak, as a number one or two guy, whichever you want to say, depending on which team you refer to. So I think he's still a competitor. There's no questions about his game. The questions are never about Kyrie's game. And so if LeBron is the guy that can get him back on the court at 100% focus, I mean, if it's as simple, and Zach, I know it's probably not as simple, but if you put Kyrie on that roster and in exchange for D'Angelo Russell, like, I still don't know if that team beats this Nuggets group, but that is a team to me that can contend.
The idea, he's talking about, I'm not satisfied getting to conference finals. The idea is to make the Lakers, if he's coming back, a championship contender, a team that can get past Denver.
Because that's all he's really, what else is there to come back for? To win championships. And that's really been LeBron throughout his whole career as well. When he's in a situation and he sees we've maxed out, he generally will go somewhere else, right? Or he will try to make changes as changes can be made. It's funny, Monica used the word as simple as it would be to get Kyrie. Nothing simple about bringing in Kyrie Irving. Let's be honest, at this point, and everything that is going on with him going there. The Lakers finally became a team that all the drama kind of quieted. Mm-hmm. They became a stable franchise. And the one thing that Rob Pelinka has talked a lot about, Zach, I know you know this better than anybody, is stability, right? Consistency, stability. If this group had played a whole season together, what could they have developed into? And now you're looking to just rip it up for a player. Yes, LeBron James is one of the greatest players of all time, and he still can play at a high level. But he's going to be 39 years old, pushing 40 next year. Are we ripping this up and doubling down on a future to try to win one more championship with him? Is that the right move for this franchise, knowing, like we just said, I don't know if he can do it for 40 minutes a night, 5 to 7 games a series, for 4 series at where he is right now.
The question is, what are you really ripping up? Because
that's where I was.
D'Angelo Russell kind of faded from prominence for this series. Malik Beasley didn't even play. And if the choice is Hachimura or a star, whoever the star is, I think that's a really serious discussion that you have to have, because this team is really good. This was not a fluke. They became a team that made sense and a real threat to win the West. And then you look at the West, it's kind of a conference in chaos, other than Denver and probably Phoenix, although they've got some major questions to answer. Memphis is in chaos. New Orleans is in chaos. Those teams are supposed to be the future of the Western Conference. This team could still have a window if they tweak it a little bit. When you talk about ripping it up in continuity, I'm not sure how much continuity you really sacrifice.
But you just said this is a good team. Like
but it's a good team because of LeBron, Anthony Davis, Austin Reeves, And really, like Dennis Schroeder, it's not if the pieces you're choosing are Russell out, Hachimura out, somebody else in, like that's not a lot of continuity or sacrifice.
And the other issue is the somebody else. If you're talking about Kyrie Irving, brings other stuff besides just being a really good player, right? So you talk about,
can't ignore that.
There are questions about that, right? Wendy, what's the likelihood that they could reunite Kyrie and LeBron in LA? Is that a thing that could happen, or are we just spitballing here?
Yeah, well, I want to say two things that any conversation about Kyrie Irving anywhere else in Dallas has to begin with. Number one, in high likelihood, if he were to leave the Dallas Mavericks, he's looking at taking less than his max salary, okay? And that is one of the big reasons why he forced his way out of Brooklyn, was because they were not willing to pay him the salary he wanted. So you'd be talking about him making a departure from his actions in the past. The second thing I want to point out is the Lakers do have other options beyond Kyrie Irving, and not only just Fred VanVleet. Now, the reason Fred VanVleet comes up is because it's not clear whether the Raptors are going to go forward with the team that they have. They haven't picked a coach yet. They haven't necessarily picked a direction. It's possible that they could let him walk, and Fred VanVleet is represented by Rich Paul, who obviously represents LeBron and Anthony Davis. But if the Lakers open up the $30 million in cap room, they also have first-round draft picks they can trade. There's a whole bunch of other options open to them via trade that wouldn't necessarily just be Kyrie Irving.
Yeah. What do you think, Monica? What should they do? What should they do?
I still say that you maximize what you can get from LeBron. And so you're having a conversation about point guards that are available and best fit. Like the entire league wants 3 stars, right? Even at this stage of his career, LeBron is still a star. I think AD was better in this playoffs. We saw him put up the numbers that people imagine and dream about in terms of him. I think he found a little bit more consistency. He was terrific defensively, and I know folks will say he's a first-half guy and maybe coast in the second half. But if you look at what AD was able to do, I think he showed you that he's somebody that if you can keep him healthy and on the floor, you do want to continue to move around. And so whether it's Kyrie, Fred VanVleet, whoever, if you can get someone that you consider a third piece and a star, it's still LA. It's still playing with LeBron. I think that you can fill in the rest of that roster similar to what we saw them do at the All-Star break this year. And so I think if you're still all in if you're the Lakers. Because of Zach's point, the West to me there's
opportunity
to take.
Yeah.
Well, maybe the Nuggets.
But you see what you said there, though. Can we all agree, LeBron, next season and probably the future for him is he's probably year to year, like Wendy said. Okay, that's probably what he's setting up here. Is he now somebody that has to, as much as he hates the word spit on the ground, load management? Like, can he play? He's got to manage his games during the regular season to make sure he can get to the finish point, because he couldn't get to the finish line this year. He wore down, and you don't want that. If you're investing in LeBron James winning a championship, your regular season now is compromised. Anthony Davis is already a guy. You don't know if he's always going to be available as well. That is a tricky game to play if you're the Lakers.
Is wearing down and getting hurt the same thing? To me, the foot is a clear thing. But that's the game you play as any athlete.
You're right.
3 years in or 20 years in.
At some point, he's going to have to manage his minutes, like Zach said.
I will say this until my face turns blue. He is about to break the record for the most minutes ever played in the history of the sport.
Right.
And to your point about needing another ball handler, he can't do it for 40 minutes. That's why I think you have to err on the side of, can we find someone with a little more off the dribble juice than even Reeves showed?
All right, we are just getting started with this conversation. Much more to come on Get Up in terms of reaction to LeBron's comments about his future, the possibility that last night